All right, guys. So we are now in Exodus chapter 5. Things are really moving. We're about to see that Moses and Aaron are going before Pharaoh in chapter 5. We're seeing that Moses complains to God. Then we step into chapter 6. And then we're going to keep on moving. You get to see how God repeats his call to Moses. Chapter 7. Moses' walking stick becomes a snake, and so forth. I just posted a video on Facebook. You can also find it on YouTube. Um, it's under Exodus chapter 1 through 4 on the last video. I posted it on YouTube today. But again, this is for the people who are just wanting to be able to listen and read, for the people who are wanting to join in with me if they're driving and they just want something to listen to, or you're out walking, you want something to listen to. I know there's a lot of news and all kinds of crazy stuff out there. But again, this is for people who are struggling to read. This is for people who are struggling to understand. This is the easy to read version. There are many versions out there. The King James version, the New King James version. I mean, there's versions out there. The Geneva Bible. I mean, it gets old school. And these are some highly intelligent people who wrote these words. And you have people like me or us, the common people who just want to be able to read the word. And I know I put in my time, many hours reading the New King James Version and even the King James Version, looking it up in the Bible, looking it up, or reading the Bible, looking it up in the dictionary, finding out what it was, writing it down, so forth, asking Siri, hey, what does this word mean? You know, and sometimes you just want to be able to read it and understand it. Some people step away from the Bible because they can't understand what's really going on. And this is the call to being able to read what God has really written and to listen to what God is really saying. But again, Moses and Aaron go before Pharaoh. So after Moses and Aaron talked to the people, they went to Pharaoh and said, the Lord, the God of Israel, says, let my people go into the desert so that they can have a festival to honor me. But Pharaoh said, who is the Lord? Why should I obey him? Why should I let Israel go? I don't even know who the Lord is, so I refuse to let Israel go. So you're seeing right there that Pharaoh is saying he don't even know who he is. I don't even know who the Lord is. So I refuse to let Israel go. Then Aaron and Moses said, the God of the Hebrews has talked with us, so we beg you to let us travel 3 days into the desert. There we will offer sacrifice to the Lord our God. If we don't do this, he might become angry and destroy us. He might make us die from sickness or war. But Pharaoh said to them, Moses and Aaron, you are bothering the workers. Let them do their work. Go back to your own work. Verse 5, there are very many workers, and you are keeping them from doing their jobs. So the subtitle says, Pharaoh punishes the people. That same day, Pharaoh gave a command to the slave masters and Hebrew foremen. He said, you have always given the people straw to use to make bricks, but now tell them they have to go and find their own straw to make bricks. But they must still have the same number of bricks as they did. So that's their daily quota. They have to be able to keep on providing what Pharaoh is asking for. They have gotten lazy. That is why they are asking me to let them go. And that's the crazy part. Pharaoh's thinking they're lazy, but it's actually the God of the Hebrews saying, let my people go, through Moses. And you hear him say, this is why they're asking me to let them go. They're lazy. They don't have enough work to do. They don't have enough work because they're over here asking me to let them go. So let's keep going. That is why they asked me to let them make sacrifice to their God. So make these people work harder, keep them busy, then they will not have enough time to listen to the lies of Moses. So you see here that Pharaoh's already intending that Moses is a liar and he's trying to deceive the people. So the Egyptian slave masters and the Hebrew foremen went to listen to the Israelites and said, Pharaoh has decided that he will not give you straw for bricks. You must go and get the straw yourselves. So go and find straw, but you must still make as many bricks as you made before. You must make as many bricks as you made before. Verse 12. So the people went everywhere in Egypt looking for the straw. The slave masters forced the people to work even harder. They forced the people to make as many bricks as before. The Egyptian slave masters had chosen the Hebrew foremen and had made them responsible for the work the people did. The Egyptian slave masters beat these foremen and said to them, why aren't you making as many bricks as you made in the past? If you could do it then, you can do it now. Of course, they've already taken away their straw. So these guys I'm sure they were whipping and beating them at the time. Then the Hebrew foreman went to Pharaoh. They complained and said, we are your servants. Why are you treating us like this? That's the end of verse 15. We're in 16. You give us no straw, but you tell us to make as many bricks as before. And now our masters are beating us. Our masters are beating us after something that Pharaoh commanded them to do. Your people are wrong for doing this. So the people are crying out. Pharaoh said, you are lazy. You are lazy. And you don't want to work. That is why you asked me to let you go. And that is why you want to leave here and make sacrifices to the Lord. Now, go back to work. We will not give you any straw. And you must still make as many bricks as you did before. Verse 19. The Hebrew foreman knew they were in trouble because the Pharaoh had told them, you must still make as many bricks as you made before. When they were leaving the meeting with Pharaoh, they passed Moses and Aaron. Moses and Aaron were waiting for them. So they said to Moses and Aaron, may the Lord judge and punish you for what you did. You made Pharaoh and his rulers hate us. You had given them an excuse to kill us. So Moses goes and he starts to complain to God. And we see that here. Moses complains to God as the subtitle. And we're on verse 22. Then Moses prayed to the Lord and said, Lord, why have you done this terrible thing to your people? So Moses is thinking that God is doing this to the people. But, I'm pretty sure through the moment he had forgot, because what happened through 1 through 4, Moses had already encountered the Lord at the mountain of God and pretty much said that Pharaoh is not going to let the people, and it's going to take a powerful force, God's power, to actually move Pharaoh into letting God's people into freedom, or at least to let them go and make sacrifice towards the Lord. But since that time, he had made the people suffer, and you have done nothing to help them. So he's already saying that God's doing nothing to help them. Verse 6. Then the Lord said to Moses, Now you will see what I do to Pharaoh. I will use my great power against them. So there you go. God never lies. He's not a man that he shall lie, and he's proven it to Moses. And he will let my people go. So he's taking it personal. God's taking it personal, and this goes even to this day. He will be so ready for them to leave that they will force them to go. Then God said to Moses, I am the Lord. I appeared to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. They called me God all-powerful. They did not know my name, the Lord. I made an agreement with them. I promised to give them the land of Canaan. They lived in the land, but it was not their own. Now, I have heard their painful cries. I know they are slaves in Egypt, and I remember my agreement. So tell the Israelites that I say to them, I am the Lord. I will save you. You will no longer be slaves of the Egyptians, I will use my great power to make you free. And I will bring terrible punishment to the Egyptians. You will be my people, and I will be your God. I am the Lord your God, and you will know that I made you free from Egypt. I made a great promise to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I promised to give them a special land. So I will lead you to that land. I will give you that land. It will be yours. I am the Lord. So verse 9, we're in chapter 6, verse 9. So Moses told this to the Israelites, but the people would not listen to him. The people are not listening to Moses. They were working so hard, they were not patient with Moses. And that's just part of us being in the flesh when we're working so hard. It's hard for us to listen. There's so much going on. They're being whipped. They're working. They're slave driving. I'm sure people are dying in the heat. A lot going on. But what happens? They're not listening to Moses. Then the Lord said to Moses, go tell Pharaoh that he must let the Israelites leave his land. But Moses answered, Lord, the Israelites refuse to listen to me. So surely Pharaoh will also refuse to listen. I am a very bad speaker. So he's bringing that up again. But the Lord talked with Moses and Aaron and commanded them to go and talk to the Israelites and to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. He commanded them to leave the Israelites out of the land of Egypt. Some of the families of Israel, that is my subtitle, and we're on Exodus chapter 6 still, chapter 14. So these are the names of the leaders of the families of Israel. So you're going to see a bunch of names. Don't get confused because you're still going to be able to see how the story plays out. There's a lot of names, so just stick with me. All right, so Israel's first son, Reuben, had 4 sons, and they had Hanok, Palu, Hezron, and Carmi. Simeon's sons are Jemuel, Jamin, Ohad, Jachin, Zohar, and Shaul. Shaul had the son of the Canaanite woman. Levi lived for 137 years. His son were Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. Gershon had 2 sons, Libni and Shimei. Kohath lived 133 years. His sons were Amram, Izahar, Hebron, and Uzziel. Merari's sons were Mahli and Mushai. All these families were from Israel's son Levi. So that's all of Levi's sons. All right, so Amram lived 137 years. He married his father's sister, Jochebed. Amram and Jochebed gave birth to Aaron and Moses. Israel's sons were Korah, Nepheg, and Zikri. Uzziel's sons were Mishael, Elzaphan, and Sithri. Aaron married Elisheba. Elisheba was the daughter of Amminadab and the sister of Nahshon. Aaron and Elisheba gave birth to Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. The sons of Korah, that is the ancestors of the Korathites, were Azer and Elkanah and Abiasaph. Verse 25. Aaron's son Eleazar married the daughter of Putiel. She gave birth to Phinehas, and all the people were from Israel's son Levi. Verse 26. Aaron and Moses were from the tribe, and they are the men the Lord spoke to and said, lead my people out of Israel in groups. And Aaron and Moses are the men who talked to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and told him the Israelites to leave Egypt. So here's the account written in the word. God repeats his call to Moses. Chapter 6, verse 28. The Lord spoke to Moses again in the land of Egypt, and he said, I am the Lord. Tell the king of Egypt everything I tell you. But Moses, standing there before the Lord, said, you know me, and I am a very bad speaker. How will I make the king listen to me? Verse 7, the Lord said to Moses, see how important I have made you? In speaking to Pharaoh, you will be like God, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet. You will tell Aaron everything that I command you. Then he will tell the king what I say, and Pharaoh will let the Israelites leave this country. So God's telling him that. So it must come true. But I will make Pharaoh stubborn, just like he said, right? So that he will not do what you tell him. Then I will do many miracles in Egypt to prove who I am. But he will still refuse to listen. So then I will punish Egypt very much, and I will lead my army, my people, out of the land. Okay, so God's army is even in the land, and his people's in the land, and he's taking them out. I will punish the people of Egypt, and they will learn that I am the Lord. Then I will lead my people out of their country. Moses and Aaron did what the Lord told them. Moses was 80 years old at this time, and Aaron was 83. 80 and 83 years old. That's pretty old, guys. At least what I think is old. Moses' walking stick becomes a snake. We're in chapter 7, verse 8. Man, we're burning through this. I'm going to try to stop this around 20 minutes. Let's see what happens. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Pharaoh will ask you to prove your power. He will ask you to do a miracle. Tell Aaron to throw his walking stick on the ground. While Pharaoh is watching, the stick will become a snake. So God can see all things. He already knows what's going to happen. So Moses and Aaron went out to Pharaoh and obeyed the Lord. Okay, so he obeyed him. Aaron threw his walking stick down while Pharaoh and his officers watched. A stick became a snake. So Pharaoh called his wise men and magicians. These men used their magic, and they were able to do the same thing as Aaron. They threw their walking sticks on the ground, and their sticks became snakes, just like theirs. But then Aaron's walking stick ate theirs. So their snake turned in, right? So Aaron's and Moses' snake walking stick turned into a snake and ate at the magician's walking stick / snakes. Pharaoh still refused to let the people go, just as the Lord had said. Pharaoh refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. It's just repeating on. So now we're starting to see what God is going to do, because God is not a liar. And we're going to finish chapter 7. And I may be able to squeeze in chapter 8, but who knows. Then the Lord said to Moses, Pharaoh is being stubborn. He refuses to let the people go. In the morning, Pharaoh will go out to the river. Go to him by the edge of the Nile River. Take the walking stick that became a snake. Tell him this: the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, sent me to you. He told me to tell you, let his people go worship him in the desert. Until now, you have not listened. You have not listened to the Lord, says the Lord, that he will do something to show you that he is the Lord. I will hit the water of the Nile River with this walking stick in my hand, and the river will turn into blood. The fish in the river will die, and the river will begin to stink. The Egyptians will not be able to drink the water from the river. The Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron to hold the walking stick in his hand over the rivers, canals, lakes, and every place where they store water. When he does this, all the water will turn into blood. So that's all the rivers, all the canals, all the lakes, everywhere they store water to drink, to shower, everything, guys. Everything turned into blood, ended up stinking. All the fish died. You know, God's not a liar. All the water, even their water stored in wood and stone jars, will turn into blood. So everything turned into blood. So Moses and Aaron did what the Lord commanded. Aaron raised the walking stick and hit the water in the Nile River. He did this in front of Pharaoh and his officials. So all the water in the river changed into blood. The fish in the river died, and the river began to stink. So the Egyptians could not drink the water from the river. The blood was everywhere. The blood was everywhere in Egypt. So the magicians used their magic to do the same thing, and they're mocking God. So Pharaoh refused to listen to Moses and Aaron. Dun, dun, dun. Not a good idea. This happened just as the Lord said. Pharaoh ignored what Moses and Aaron had done, and he turned and went into his house. The Egyptians could not drink the water from the river, so they dug wells around the river for the water to drink. So they're finding other ways to go and find water. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the video short, because the next video I make will be over the plagues that God releases. And we had seen that the water becomes blood. What happens next? you will see if you end up joining with me or going on and reading with yourself in the Bible. God's going to be there. And I pray that he helps you understand, read, or listen to the word in any way. People who are really hungry for the word of God, God will give you wisdom. He will give you understanding and knowledge. And know that I'll be doing this because I feel like God is truly calling me to read with every single one of you. I'm saying, even if it's just one person, I'm truly being honest. If it's one person taking the time to listen to this, it's definitely worth it, because I know that the seed that God is putting in there is going to grow a plant. And plants grow fruit, and fruit grows more fruit. Be a light to the world. Thank you guys for listening. I love y'all. May the Lord bless you in Jesus' name.